Hello, and welcome along to the stream today. So, this is a lunchtime stream, so we kind of just get started. We kind of jump in and get things underway. So today we are going to be working on, hello Kim in the chat room. Today we are going to be working on GitReleaseManager again. Again, we've been working through this, adding in new functionality, adding in new commands, and generally improving the code base. So it's starting to take shape. And Tomas has just joined the chat room as well. So hello to Tomas. Let's start there then. So Tomas has literally just put in a pull request into GitReleaseManager just in the last 5-10 minutes. So on a previous stream, Tomas had let's just call it what it was. He had made the GitReleaseManager codebase better. Throughout the codebase, we hadn't been using async and await correctly. It was a naive implementation that just used .result all over the place. It didn't have any. It didn't have the correct usage of configure await throughout the codebase. So Tomas went through it and blitzed it, basically. But what he noticed was that there was at least one area where he'd missed 2 calls to .result. So I think I'll just go through my head there. So Tomas has pointed out in this PR that there's at least it's a breaking change because there's a change to the signature that's used. Now, I think, although it is a breaking change, we're also completely breaking things in this release. So, although have we got any breaking issues yet on the milestone? Sorry, I'm not sure if we do, but let's have a look. What have we got so far? Build, feature, bug, improvement. In which case, we'll mark this one as a breaking change. So we're tracking that. So this is the issue. No, that's the PR. So where's the issue? The issue's here. So let's. That was going through my head as well, Tomas. I mean, it's not intended to be, but there is a core DLL that, in theory, we could ship. But what I was going to go through in my head there was that this was related to blah, blah, blah. It was this one. So we called that one an internal refactoring. Okay, so let's go and let's call that one internal refactoring as well, so that they're the same. Let's take this off, internal refactoring. No, you're right. Okay, in which case, let's make it an internal. Let's make this issue internal refactoring as well. And I did have a quick look at this PR before I came on stream, and I couldn't see anything I thought was untoward about it. So we are adding this as a task, and we renamed the method so it's clear that it's an asynchronous operation. Oh, hello, Maurice. Maurice is in the chat room too. And we're not just returning a collection anymore, we're returning it as a task, which makes sense. We're calling await, and then we're doing configure await. We're calling await, and we're doing configure await. And so I'm going to say that I'm happy with this one. So I'm going to say, looks good to me. Approve. And I'm going to go ahead and merge that in and say, boom. And I'm going to say to Cheese of the Baron, let's do a PRT here, and we'll say comment. And that says fixes, so if we go over here, this one should be marked as closed, and we need to add it to the milestone. Beautiful. Right. Thank you for doing that, Tomas. And also, I should put it on, make it public. Tomas has volunteered to improve the unit test coverage in GitReleaseManager. He doesn't know that he's done that officially, but now he does. So he suggested that he might be able to do some of that in his time off over the holidays. So I think actually there is an open issue for that, if I'm not mistaken. Does someone not say that we should... Yeah. Look, improving the unit test coverage to cover all features. And I said back in 2017 that this was a great idea. So who can we assign to this? Oh, let's just do it. That's just so it's official. There we go. It's done. It's done. Right. So on what stream we're on? This is Friday. On Monday's stream, we were looking at... Oh, look at that. I'm having no part in that one. On Monday's stream, we were looking at the creation of... We were looking at the creation of integration tests to exercise the cake aliases that GitReleaseManager uses. Now, we got to a point where it was working, which was good. Let's check out. Let's switch over to the other branch, which I called feature something. But that also won't work, so let's do... I can't remember what I called it. Let's just do this then. Check out feature. That one. If I go in here, and I'll explain why I was able to release my GitHub token as well, which was great fun. What we've created now is a... Am I in the right branch? I don't think I'm in the right branch. Git branch. Matthias is saying that he's here to offer security advice. Should I need it? I think I might need it. So I'll definitely be taking you up on that. Welcome along as well, Matthias. Happy to have you here. What is going on in the background here that is taking so long? What was the feature called? I'm going to guess it was 145. Let's have a look. So if we go back to here, so what we... Isn't that one? Oh, come on. I should just look at GitHub and see what the PR is. If you do it again, I'm going to tweet this one at you again. Hold on. Is that Britney Spears saying, oops, I did it again? I bet it is. I bet it is. Yeah, it is. It's Britney. It's 140, look. Let's do 140. Right, we'll get there in the end. Okay, so git rebase upstream. No, not upstream, because Matthias did a PR into here. So let's pull that down. Right, so now we're here. Right, so this is how I ended up doing it. So we were trying to create some integration tests for Git version, GitReleaseManager. And in there, we created a test for creating a release. And then, because of the fact that we want to be able to create the release again and again as we do more commits, we wanted to make use of the new discard alias that we're adding in. Right, so there's now a command that says discard, and it will discard a draft release. Now, when we can't do that today because the cake alias for GitReleaseManager hasn't been added, so we sort of abused the functionality within Cake, which is allowed to allow argument customization of all the arguments that are passed to the underlying alias. Now, by doing that and modifying the command name from create to discard, I inadvertently made it possible to release my GitHub token to the command line, and it was there for everyone to see. It was on show, so I immediately had to go and obviously change my GitHub tokens, which I did, and then I spoke to the Cake team about this in our Slack channel, and Matthias was like, I can fix that. So he put out a PR. So rather than doing a replace of the command arguments, he appends discard onto the front of it and then uses the other ones as they are without changing them. So without rendering the string, which was the command arguments, he takes the actual arguments themselves, which then maintain whether they are coded secrets or not. So this is absolutely the better way to do it. And I said on the stream that at the time, it's not the way to do it. So this is much better, and we shall be able to use this going forward. Okay. And I'm going to catch up a little. So hopefully, we're not going to need to show Brittany during the stream, because we're not going to do it. I'm not going to release my token again. No. I'm getting quite proficient doing it, but I don't want to have to do that again. So, absolutely, yes, it is, isn't it? Because we can take advantage of those sorts of things. Right. Other comments here were creating the documentation is probably something we all need to do together and not just one person. I agree with that. And it needs to be a continued effort going forward. We'll be good to get started at least. Right. I don't think I would be able to document it all since I'm not familiar with all the aspects of the code. And that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. Same here, actually. The one in the best position is probably me. Absolutely. So I'll caveat to that. Yes. Right. Okay. So a couple of things. So one, from a documentation standpoint, I have been working on with Arthur some changes to the Git version documentation. So we're almost at a point now where the Git version docs are now almost being fully generated by YAM and fully checked into GitHub pages and then made available through there. So previously we were using read docs for Git version. And we've decided that we're not going to use that anymore, right? What we're going to use instead is we're going to use YAM, publish to GitHub pages. And now, if I go in here, I'm not going to give anything away by going in here, but if I scroll down and I click on this thing, we now have a YAM site that has all of the Git version documentation. Now, it looks a bit funny, so let's not all comment too quickly. Basically, I have taken the publishing and the creation of the documentation directly out of Git cake.recipe and brought it over into the Git version build. And basically, it's broken because that process assumes that you're using a subdirectory and all that sorts of stuff. So I need to fix it. But the documentation is here. It just doesn't work very well. So that's what we're working on from a documentation standpoint from Git version. And the CSS isn't there as well, obviously, because the CSS comes from an assets folder within the virtual directory. So because the paths are all wrong, basically. So if you go into developer tools here and we refresh the page, then we'll see lots and lots of errors of things being 404 because they're not found. So all of this is fixable though, but what we have done is we've converted all of the docs from read the docs into YAM format, and we're very, very close to having that documentation done. So I don't dislike documentation. I do it sometimes, but we basically came to a consensus within the Git tools team that we wanted some similarity between how the documentation's generated. So because of the fact that GitReleaseManager had jumped to using YAM, which is what it's doing here, we wanted to do the same thing in Git version. So it'll look similar to this, and we probably need to add some more information into here. Pascal has already raised an issue regarding the label command not being in here, so that needs to be added. It loads very quick though. No comment. Anyway, so the thing I did want to work on today, so to actually get things done, one of the things I realized as I was going through these integration tests that we're creating is that in order to test more of the aliases, we are going to think we need to create another command. So that other command is the open command. So right now we have a command which is to close a milestone. So let's go and look at the documentation. So we've got a close command that closes a milestone. But in order to allow full testing of the aliases, I think we need another, and we need an open one. We need an open sesame command. Absolutely, Kim. So I think that's what I'm going to try and do today in this lunch hour, is to knock out the creation of that open command. So that will then feed into the other PR that I have, which is the creation of the integration tests. So what I'm imagining now, let's maybe just stub this out while we're here, is I think we should create a release. I'm going to change this slightly with asset. So we'll add an asset in here. So let's put this down so it doesn't break anything. Create release with asset. Then we need to add asset to release, which is what I was hoping to do. Then what we need to do is we need to close milestone for release, and we'll do something with that, and then we'll do a task, which is to open milestone for release. Then we can export it and we can discard it. So maybe let's put this one further down so it's all kind of in order. So I did that the wrong way around, didn't I? That's the other one that I want. It's this one. Cut. We discard it and then we close it, or we open it, sorry. And that'll put it back to a known state that we can run integration tests on over and over and over again. Now, the one thing that I did, and since there's a few folks on the... Don't know. We should check that. We should check that. We could check that while we're doing the open command. While there are a few folks on the stream in the chat room, I wanted to ask, I know how I would do this in a unit test, where I wanted to assert whether two files are exactly the same. Is there a command line utility that will, a simple command line utility that will allow me to compare two files? Because when we export this release, in terms of doing the assertion, we need to check that what we've exported matches what we expect it to be. So, i.e. that the release notes were generated correctly. So, is there a command line tool or an easy library that we can pull into here that would allow us to do the assertion between the two files? See, I thought about doing that. That thought had occurred to me. Whether we would just do the hashes of the files. I guess that would account for different line endings and things, potentially, I guess. So if I look, so you're saying if I look at the check the cake integration tests. So cake integration tests are in here. And then, because yours, there's going to be some in here, isn't there? Has this got GitReleaseManager stuff in it? No. That was too much to ask for. Do you know roughly where, Matthias? Utilities? Comparers. Path quality, solution. Project parser result quality comparer. These are... What are these two? Quality, rules. Okay, I'll leave you to find that, because I want to add that into this, so we can export a release that we've just created. We'll then compare it against a file that we'll keep in source control to say that this is what it should look like. Then there's actually another one that we want to add in here. So we export the release. Then we've got another task, which is to add. Oh no, we did that already. Sorry, we've got that one already. So we add the assets to the release. So we're there pretty much then. So in terms of what we do, we create, we add assets. The one that we won't do is the publish, because bottom line is once we do a release and we publish it, it creates a tag, and then we kind of have to back out the tag. It just becomes harder to do that. But we'll be able to do all the other ones. We can exercise all the other aliases except from publish. So there's a couple of things coming up here. So there's a link here from Kim in the chat room that's saying file read all. So we're just reading all the files and then we're okay. So is that similar to what TS has done over here in these tests? Blah, blah, blah. Or doing a SHA-512 hash of it, which we open it, we compute the hash, and then we compare it. And that looks very similar to... Right, okay, so we're both at the same point, or you guys are both at the same point. So these are good. I will, in fact, where will I put these? Let me create a little file down here that you guys can't see. And I will add these links onto here so that I have them, and then we can use that as a basis for going forward. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Right, so let's get started. So what I want to do is I want to go to here and let's reload that, and then I'm going to create a new branch for the issue that I created, which was what's Tomas saying, or did I assign it? It was just me assigning it, that's fine. But Tomas had commented on it too. And then there's another link from Matthias here that is assert.true file hash is equal. So that assert is coming from... Oh, so you've got an X, I'll have to check to see what's in that X unit cake as well and to see where that assert's coming from, but that's okay. I'll put that into my little document too. Okay, for the opening command, it was 177. So let's do git add git commit -m rebase me. I'll leave that there just so I've got it. And then we'll do a git switch -c feature gh-177 from the develop branch. Boom. Here's your sending mail. Okay, thank you. I'll put that into my list too. Let's do here. Thank you very much. Right, 177 is where we're at. So what I want to do is I want to allow the opening of a milestone. Now we have options already for closing of a milestone, which is this one. So it's going to be very similar to that. So I'm going to create a new class here called open sub options. And I could derive it from the close, but I'll keep them separate, I think, because there's the potential for them being different in the future. So because of that possibility, I won't make them derive from each other. I'll keep them separate. So let's put this in here. This is going to be called open sub options. I'm going to need to borrow some of this stuff. We'll put this in here. The verb is going to be open, keep it simple. And it's going to open the milestone. That will derive from here. And that's going to make it public. And then let's borrow this one too. Let's put that up there. Option, milestone. The milestone to use, required is true. Boom. Okay, so that's our sub options. And then if we go to our program.cs, which is where all of the main stuff happens, then as an entry point, we need to add in the new one that we just added. So we're going to go in here and we'll say open sub options. Somebody's just commented on the issue that I created. Let's have a look. Should the open milestone create a new milestone if a milestone doesn't exist? And Maurice is back as well. Oh, hold on, what's 55? Oh, I see where you're going. Move unclosed issues to the next version milestone when releasing a version. I see. Yeah, so what Geert was getting at here was that if you've got a milestone, let me say this differently. When you create a release, it only, by default at the minute, it only adds to that release issues that are closed on that milestone. So any open issues don't get added to the release. So what Geert was asking for is, on the process of creating a release, if there are any open issues, he wants them moved to the next one. Now, there's no... You kind of have to assume that the next one is the next patch version at that point then, because unless there's a major bump, how would it know which one's which? Yes, Matthias, it does, but I mean, the question is still the same though. How do you know whether you're just going to the next patch release, to the next minor release, or whether you're going to a next major release? We would need something as a flag to indicate which one it's going to. Could be an argument for the release. Kim's already got a plan for that. I like it. But, so the question was, should the open milestone create a new milestone if that milestone doesn't exist? I don't know if it should, I'll be honest. I think the open should be very specific in the same way that the close is very specific. So if we look at what the close does just now, so what does the close do? Let's just have a look. So close milestone async, what does it do? It's going to defer into here, and it's going to say go implementation, which is, where's my provider? In here, GitHub provider, control MO, close milestone here. If it doesn't find a milestone, then it just returns. And it's only looking for open ones, or does it do a sanity check? It does a sanity check to see if it's open. Okay. Close. 2 plans. Closes the milestone, and comment on issues. Yes, agree with that one. Great new feature. I'm really curious to try that out on this next release, hopefully. So I'm going to make it similar to this, I think, to start with. So I'm going to start stubbing this out while we're talking here. So control MO. Let's go back into our main, and I'm going to say here open. I'm going to continue to get that wrong. Open sub options. And then we're going to say open milestone async, passing in the options, and then we're going to copy this, and I'm going to put this beside the close so it's in a similar sort of area. So in here I'm going to do private static async task of int, and then that's going to take my open sub options, which are my sub options, and that's going to become a method. Provider should almost be a partial class in several files. A lot going on there. I hear that as a refactoring, but yes, there's a lot going on in this. So this is part of this file didn't exist before. Before a couple of weeks ago, this file didn't exist at all. Everything was done in program.cs. So we are starting to refactor. It's coming together. There's probably some optimizations to be made there. Absolutely. So I'm going to borrow what this is doing. That may come out in the work that Tomas is going to be working on, which is to improve the unit testing coverage. That may come out in the work that's been done there. VCS provider, get VCS provider, and then this is going to be our open. The methods or the functions, the parameters are almost certainly going to be the same there. So let's copy that, and we'll go to our IVCS provider, and it's going to need a new one, which is going to be here, which is going to be string owner, string repository, string. I'm going to go back and fix that spelling mistake in a second. Milestone title. I'm going to fix that spelling mistake there. And I'm going to go here. Should probably need to make some other different refactors as well, but that's like the new name. Like the what now? The new, what new name? New name? What does that mean? What have I missed? So this is going to be public async. Oh. Yeah, no. Task. Open milestone string owner string pause. Seriously. String milestone title. Okay. I'm going to borrow some of this. There's some code duplication happening here without any doubt, but never mind. And then we're going to say, well, let's do that differently. So within this scope, let's rename that as closed milestones. Get for repository item filter dot closed. Beautiful. Milestone close milestones first or default. Return milestone update. Milestone item state is going to be open. Configure await if, oh, I can take that off. Oh, we don't need that anymore. We don't need that part because we're not. Oh, no, that's a step too far, right? So, or is it? If we open a milestone, should we go back and remove the comments that were added that said potentially that it had been added to a release? I'm going to come back and think about that one later. I'm not going to do that just now. I'm going to just update it. I'm going to cheat a little bit. So that's that. And then if I build this, this is going to fail because we haven't implemented that new method in our other implementation of this interface. So let's let that build and tell me about that so I can double click on it. This one. So this needs a, where's the close milestone? This here. So let's put this in Let's just type it. Open milestone string. Seriously, maybe I should have copy pasted. String owner, string repository, repository, string milestone title. And then we're just going to throw a new system.notImplemented exception because we don't worry about that in there. Let's have another look. And if that works, we should test it, he says. Okay, so let's go back over here and do a little build. And let's go over to my fake repository. GitHub.com, get13, fake repository. That's actually moved now. It's not on there anymore. It's on, we moved the fake repository that I was using. Oh, I need to rename that. As per our discussion. Let me write that down. Rename fake repository to include GRM. Okay. So if I keep going, did that build work? It's still building. But if this build works, what we should be able to do is we should be able to walk over to here and close this milestone, and then we should be able to open it again. Kim's asking, off topic, did anyone know that in Serialog verbose logging is considered a lower logging form than debug logging? Really? I would have thought that was the other way around, if I'm honest. Yeah, I would have, like you, I would have thought that the other way around. It was like information debug verbose is how I, and then diagnostic underneath that. Didn't know that, no. That's news to me. Dun, dun. Oh, I've just thought of something. In order to test this, I'm going to need a token. And I'm fairly sure that the token... No, that's a... Well, we'll have to test that. I was going to say the token that I'm currently got in my environment variables on this machine isn't going to have the necessary credentials, but I'm fairly sure it's not. So let's check. But it might be the Git tools user. Oh, why did that fail? Oh. I don't have a compatible .NET Framework version. But Matthias, is this a situation where I could use that roll forward thing again? Test host process exited with error. Enable debug verbose, but verbose logging calls never showed up, but both showed up when enabling verbose logging. Interesting. Yeah, that's news to me. But if we go into here and do, I don't know what I'm typing. Env, git tools, GitHub user. What does that come back with? So I'm going to, right, okay, so I'm going to go off stream to put my token into my environment variable. Because I'm not going to release it. I'm not going to do it on this stream. I'm going to switch it off, screen off, And I'm going to go and put that token in there so that I can use it. So I'll be back in a minute. Hello. Okay, so we're back. Your error is due to my latest change. To get enough code coverage, the .NET Core version was changed from 3 to 2.2. You don't have that SDK. But the reason, what I was saying there is that I had a similar issue when I was trying to build YAM on Azure pipelines for Git version. And Matthias suggested that by adding an environment variable, which is to roll forward to the next version of the .NET SDK, when the one that you want isn't there, because I have 3.0 installed, so I wonder whether it's looking for 2.2, but if I add that environment variable to allow it to roll forward, would it still work? But in this scenario, I think it wouldn't, because we're specifically doing 2.2 because of the fact that our coverage doesn't support the version 3, so that wouldn't work. So okay, I'll install that specific version. But anyway, so if we go into where am I typing? Over here. Right. If we cd into build artifacts and we look at temp and we look at published applications, then in here we should have a Git version CLI, and then in there, what's the folder structure? Let's go into our net 461, and then in here we have GitReleaseManager. Right, we do. So if we do GitReleaseManager.exe, then we should have the new open command, which we do. Good. So we have the close and we have the open. So right now our milestone is currently open, so we want to run the close. So we want to run the close. So in order to run the close, we need the milestone, the username, the password, the owner, and the repository. So if we do user is env git tools GitHub username, the password is going to be env git tools GitHub password. The owner is going to be git tools. The repository is going to be our fake repository. Repository. And then the milestone is going to be v0.1.2. And I did not change it to 2.1 since one of the unit test library dependencies doesn't support it. Okay, fine. So I need 2.2 installed. I can do that. If I run that, we should get our nice shiny thing. And if I come over here, then that one should be closed. Right, that's good. And if I run the exact same thing on our new open command, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, what does it do? Didn't fail. So let's refresh this. And it opened it. Look at that. Beautiful. Beautiful. I think that works. So let's have a look at the changes that I've made and see if we're going to submit this PR for review. Because I think we are. Oh, look at that. A cheer from Maurice. Thank you very much. What was I doing? So let's go into here. Let's have a look at the changes that we've made. So what have we done? We extended the interface, so we need that. We added that method to the fake provider implementation. We added it into the actual implementation, which is still looking specifically for closed ones before it does the open, so we need that. We essentially copied the sub options from the close and made a new one for the open. And then for the program.cs, we added it to the top level parser. We added the where it's pointing to, and that pointing to is then calling into the provider. So we can add that into. So I'm going to say that that's good, and I'm going to say that this is on 177, and we're going to say add open command to allow the reopening of a milestone that might have been closed as part of a abandoned release. Let's call it abandon. How do you call abandon? Abandon? As part of, it would be an abandoned. That doesn't look right. It's part of an aborted release. To allow the reopening of a milestone that might have been closed as part of an aborted release. This will help with the exercising of the integration as part of integration tests for GitReleaseManager. So I'm going to go ahead and commit that. And I'm going to git push origin on that. That's going to tell me that I can't, and that I need to do this, which is fine. Then I'm going to walk over to here, and hopefully I'm going to get that. And in here, I'm going to say here fixes 177. I'm going to request a review from Kim. Adding this command allows for reverting an action that can be done by GRM. In the same way that we can discard a created release, we can now reopen a closed milestone. Perfect. Tested on Friday lunchtime stream using the fake repository on the Git tools organization. Okay, screenshots, no. Checklist. My code requires yes it does, I believe. My change requires changes to the documentation, almost certainly. I have updated the documentation, no I haven't. I have read the contributing document, yes I have. I have added tests to cover my changes, no I haven't, because Tomas is going to add them all. All new and existing tests passed. To allow reopening. Oh no, hold on. Oh sorry, let's grab this. Whoa, too much stuff there. Let's doesn't work. That's why it's not working. Cut. And then in here, I'm going to put that, and I'm going to open it. Okay. Go. Hold on, what now? Won't that PR be dependent on the current draft release? I'm not sure I follow what you're saying, Kim. Why is there a dependency? Won't that PR, you meaning this PR? Won't that PR be dependent on the current draft release? Oh, I see what you're saying. I think I see what you're saying. I mean, there's no correlation at the minute between a release being published and a milestone getting closed. Those two actions are completely separate. So the closing of a milestone isn't contingent on a release being in draft or in a published state. So I don't see why the opening of a milestone would be contingent on that either. Okay, cool. Okay. So that's that done. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So with once that's merged, then we will be able to extend the integration test that we have to allow the closing of the milestone and then the reopening of the milestone. So we're exercising those two aliases. We will need to borrow the same technique that we were using before, because the cake aliases don't exist for exercising this new command, but we can work on that. And then once we add that into cake itself, we can update the version number that we take on cake, and we can test that out for ourselves, which is good. So I think that's kind of where I wanted to get to today. A couple of things I did want to point out, since there's a couple of chocolatey moderators in the chat room. I've published a new version of Package Validator this morning that attempts to handle or it adds a new requirement, which is specifically for markdown headings being incorrect. Package Validator should barf and say that you're not getting to publish the package if you have invalid markdown headings in the text. So if you happen to see any issues with Package Validator, specifically other rules no longer working, let me know, because I tried very hard not to break anything, but it has been known for things to get broken. So let me know if you run across anything. And there was a new version of the community gallery push this morning as well to handle the backwards compatibility of the markdown headings that were incorrect, and they always were incorrect, but the previous markdown rendering engine that we were using handled them, but the new one doesn't. So Steph made some modifications to make it possible to handle those going forward. But going forward, we don't want any bad headings going into the database going forward. Good. So Marisa is saying I haven't seen any issues, so that's good. Kim's just said something. Oh, what's this? This could use the get issues from milestone async. How would that work? In this one, we're looking for milestones, not issues. So that method, get issues from milestone async, would return a collection of issues. In this one, we're looking for a collection of milestones. Or am I misunderstanding what this method does? Maurice is saying so far. I love your confidence, Maurice. And Maurice, I haven't forgotten about the PR that you have done. It's my aim to get to that soon, to get that merged then as well. I haven't forgotten about that one. And there's another comment coming in, I think. Or Slack told me that there was another comment. Beautiful. Okay, cool. Looks good to me. So if you want to, if the CI builds are past Kim, if you're happy, you can go ahead and merge that. That'd be great. Has been. I know, Maurice. I'm sorry. Let's have a look at it again. Remind myself about what it was doing. I think it's good to go. Package validator. What was it doing again? Pull requests. Require you. Oh, that one. Yes, we should definitely get that one merged then. What's the current state of it? Oh, you blah 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 blah. Okay. I'll get it done. I will get it done. I promise. No, Matthias, I didn't make any security hiccups this stream, so I'm quite proud of myself. I'm happy. So there's no. I don't think there's anything for you to tidy up this time round. I have got a PR that I'll need to update, which will be doing argument customization again of a cake alias, but I will be using your method this time round rather than my one. So it's all good. So no, I didn't mess up this time round. Quick note on, so what date are we on? We are on the 20th of December. So tomorrow's the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. I might do a stream on Monday evening. Depends on lots of things. But there likely won't be one next Friday. And basically I don't know when I'll be doing streams over the Christmas period. So I will keep these posted via the usual communication mechanisms. So if you're interested in jumping in, feel free. And no Brittany. We did show Brittany earlier, but she's not getting another appearance. I don't think we need her this time round. So that's me for this. I'm going to go and grab some lunch, and I'm going to say that's that. So happy to get this method in. And how many things have we still got open? We've still got quite a few things to get on to this release, haven't we? I think. How many more things? Oh, that's not too bad. So if we could get these ones closed off, it would be good to get this release out the door, because there's several nice features in this release. This one, I might have to bump that one. So I have it basically working, but there's at least I've had to submit a PR into the GitLab. What the hell is GitLab? I've had to submit a PR into the GitLab client library in order to allow at least one of the things I need to do. And there's another bigger PR that I need to do, which is to allow the comparison of a commit to a tag to know how many commits there are within that. So one of the things that GitReleaseManager does, it provides a number as to how many commits have been in the release, and within that release, how many issues have been created. The comparison API exists in GitLab, but the GitLab client that I'm using doesn't have that functionality. So I would need to add that functionality to get that support in so that I could add it within GitReleaseManager. So also the flow of GitLab works slightly differently, because in GitHub, when you create a release, it's draft by default, and then when you publish it, it creates a tag. That flow doesn't quite work the same in GitLab. There is the concept of defining a date in the future for creating the release, so it kind of creates it in a draft state, but it also sort of expects that the tag is going to be present in the repository already. Unless you give it a specific commit to link to. So it's slightly different. It works slightly different. So I might bump this one to the next release so that we can actually get something out. Because I'm aware that I also need to get back to cake.recipe to try and get that out the door. So if we can tidy up these last remaining issues, then I would like to push it out and get it shipped. And then some of the other tidy up issues, which are the additional unit tests, the additional documentation, that sort of stuff, we might bump those ones. But what I will do is I've noticed that one didn't get added to the milestone. So let's at least add Pascal's one, because that does need to go out. So yeah, that's me. We actually got some issues that aren't tied to the milestone yet that need to be included. Okay, so which ones are? But we'll need to go through them. So maybe that's just so. Let's do that then. Can we go through that and get them all added to the milestone so that we've got a clear idea about what we're doing and what we want to get shipped, and then we'll work on getting those done. We'll get that release out, and then I can switch back to doing Cake.Recipe, because there's been a couple of requests for getting the next version of Cake.Recipe, the 2.0 version, out the door. So I need to get back to that at some point as well. But anyway, that's me for now. I will sign off. Have a good evening, good weekend, and I will speak to you on the internets. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.